Hey guys, scoop the chair in. I'm gonna read some more from the one and only Bob. I scramble over to Ivan and he gives me a look that says, "You're the best, Bob." "I thought you were a goner," I say, licking some banana goo off his chin. "Me too." Ivan seems a little dazed. His eyelashes are white with dust. "What happened anyway?" Tornado. "Is Ruby okay? Kenyani, Julia, George?" "Haven't seen Julia or George yet. Kenyani's over there carrying on." A paramedic holding a box of medical equipment approaches us nervously. "I've got this," calls a woman I recognize as one of the park veterinarians. The paramedic looks happy to step aside. The vet gently but firmly pushes me out of the way. "I'll be back," I tell Ivan. I run to Kenyani. He's good. He's totally good." The look of joy in her eyes makes me want to give her an affectionate nose nudge. Almost. From there I join Ruby and Maya. "I was so scared, Bob," Ruby whispers. "Me too," I admit. "Me too. But he's fine, I promise." We watch a pair of otters dart past, chased by a guy with a net. One of the firefighters who'd been clearing debris yells, "We're clear here. No sign of victims." Sarah closes her eyes and I can smell her relieved tears. While Maya listens to her walkie-talkie trying to take stock of the damage at the park, Officer Williams' police radio hisses and crackles with new problems, new flooding, new dire predictions. "Copy that," she says into her radio. Even with that chaos and noise, I'm close enough to the radio to catch the tiny sound of frantic barking. "We've got a unit reporting the animal shelter down the street's flooding," Officer Williams says. "Also, we've got trailer park damage on 12th Street and Oak down on Nelson Avenue blocking traffic and a big rig overturned near the fairgrounds, and that's just for starters." Out of the corner of my eye, I notice something airborne. It's graceful and bold like a huge wingless bird. The crowd gasps. It's Kimu. He lands on the hood of Officer Williams' squad car. He gazes. His eyes are glazed, his coat wet and shimmering. "We've got a 1091 here," Officer Williams whispers into the receiver. "Confirm she's a wolf on top of my vehicle." Slowly, she reaches for the pistol on her hip. "Please advise." Several officers raise their guns. The tranquilizer dart guy takes aim too. "No!" Maya yells. "No guns!" Kimu blinks, eyes darting right and left, and then leaps off the car with such grace and speed it's like he owns the wind. 2 shots ring out. Silence follows. "Was he hit?" someone asks. Maya closes her eyes. "I sure hope not." "I sure hope so," someone else says. As I watched that leap, watched Kimu fly, I didn't know what to think. Part of me was like, "Go for it, dude." And the other part of me was thinking, "It's jungle out there." Officer Williams climbs onto a picnic table. Someone hands her a megaphone so she can be heard over the din. "Folks," she yells, "listen up. We've got a handful of animal control workers coming over, but several roads are already flooded out, and the weather guys are saying Gus is going to take his sweet time. Meantime, park supervisors, call in more help, but only if your workers can get here safely." The unmistakable roar of a big cat rolls over us like slow thunder. "Any more trank guns?" Officer Williams asks the park director who's just arrived. "3 in reserve," she answers. "Nets? We have a dozen." "Okay then," Officer Williams' radio cackles. I hear more shouting, more barking dogs. "Shelter's flooding," she says. "Yeah, that's happened there before," the director says. "Usually just a foot or 2 of water." "Okay, public safety is where we start." Officer Williams wipes rain from her forehead. "We need to get the word out that these animals are on the loose." "Of course," says the director. "We have protocols in place, but we need to be careful how we word this. People might overreact, might—" "Ma'am," a firefighter interrupts. "I see a python in my backyard. I'm sure as heck going to overreact." "First things first," says Officer Williams. "Triage in the main office. Check wreckage for any survivors, human or animal. Fan out with trank guns. Get an inventory of how many animals are on the loose." I wonder how it's possible that Officer Williams can seem so composed. The air reeked with fear for animals, birds, and people. And for me. And yet she doesn't seem worried about herself, just about people. Weird, the way some humans stick their necks out for others. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? Again, the crackle, the hiss, the barking. My ears perk up for a minute. Was that a familiar voice? Maybe someone I know in the slammer? "I'm going to the shelter at the elementary school," Sarah says. Her hands are trembling, but her voice is firm. "To look for George and Julia. Just in case." She strokes my head and I'm happy to let her. Excuse me. I wonder if I should tag along with her, see if I can get help out. now that I know Ivan and Ruby are safe. Hiss, crackle, meow, bark. I hear it again. My ears go on alert. My body goes rigid. No, it's impossible. What's he hearing? Some barks you never forget. I know what I have to do. Despite the turmoil all around me, the noises, the smells, the fear, the confused humans, the frantic animals, despite my worry about Julia and George, I know there's one place I need to be. I want to tell Ivan and Ruby, but Ivan is still being poked at by the rhymes with pet threat. Although, come to think of it, she doesn't seem like much of a threat. In a movie, she'd be one of the good guys. To my annoyance, Sarah picks me up. I hate being picked up, unless it's my idea. Then it's totally cool. Maya, she says, you let me know first sign of George and Julia, okay? Promise, says Maya, and she places her hand on Sarah's shoulder. Humans always with the touching, although I kind of get it under these circumstances. You can't take Bob to the school shelter. They're not allowing any more pets, Maya points out. And the animal shelter is flooding, it sounds like. Why don't you leave him here? I'll put him in my office. He'll be safe. No way is that on my agenda. Sarah nods. Good idea. She starts to hand me over, but hesitates when she realizes Maya still has a meerkat wrapped around her neck. It's just a split second. But a split second is all it takes to escape when you're Bob, untamed and undaunted. Bob! Sarah cries. Grab the dog, Maya yells. I spent a good part of my life running from a certain guy named Mac, and I still have my moves. I twist and spin and dip, and before you can say, yes, sirree, Bob, they're giving up. I backtrack, slip under a bench, and make my way to Ruby. Ruby, I whisper, I gotta go. Something's important come up. You and Ivan see if you can find Julia and George. I want to come, Ruby says, stomping her right foot into a huge puddle. You need to keep an eye on Ivan, I say. Make sure Kenyani doesn't drive him loco with her sobbing. I'll be back before you know it. I don't wait for an answer. I'm off into the wild, into the world filled with wind and rain, with wolves and alligators, with a voice that would rip my heart in two. Part 3. Ivan used to ask me what I did when I wasn't hanging out at the Exit 8 Big Top Mall and Video Arcade. I wasn't like the rest of the animals, caged, trapped. I told him I was scrounging for food, and he never questioned it. When you think about it, though, where's a better place to find food than the floor of a mall at the end of the day? Yeah, I wasn't looking for food. I was looking for her. For Boss. At first, I didn't admit it to myself. You know how it is when you wish for something so bad you're afraid to say it out loud because what if it never happens? It was like that. I knew the odds were crazy long. I knew I was nuts, and yet I went out day after day searching for her. There had been 6 of us in the litter, so why was I only looking for her? Because it was her bark I'd heard. After the box landed, even after the truck roared past, I heard it. A whimper, bark, howl, cry, something I've never heard since. She survived, at least at first. I survived. The rest of them didn't. Boss was the oldest, right? That was the name. And what did I do when I heard that bark? Did I run towards it? Did I try to find her, to save her? No. I was just a few weeks old, helpless, useless. The cry stopped almost as soon as they started, and you know what? Part of me was relieved. I didn't want to go back onto that highway. I couldn't bear wanting to rescue her and not knowing how. I didn't want to see her die. But mostly, I was afraid. He's living with that guilt that he didn't do anything. I was afraid, a coward. There's a certain freedom that comes with owning your faults. Every day I went looking for Boss, up and down that same barren stretch of highway. Sometimes I'd catch a hint of something hopeful on the air and think it was my sister's scent. I'd be certain the breeze had brought her voice to me like an invisible gift. The wind can really mess with your head. After a while, I stopped going to the highway. I stopped looking. It was a relief to give up. I had enough to worry about. As I run from the park, I keep hearing my sister's yelp in my head. Still, with every step, my doubts grow. Sometimes we hear what we want to hear. The animal shelter is close, just down the street, but there's nothing quick about the trip. Water rushes past like a raging river. The sun's been swallowed by black clouds. I pick my way through muddy front yards, avoiding the worst of the water. I ain't much of a swimmer. It doesn't come up much in the line of work, though I do pass a passable dog paddle. Oh, the problem is my paddles. My paws are tiny, not much to work with when you're fighting a flood. I see a couple of humans with flashlights carving tunnels in the sheeting rain. But mostly the street seems eerie and abandoned, especially after the chaos of the park. The shelter is at the bottom of a slight hill. Rain's pulled outside the front door. Despite a pile of sodden sandbags, a police car is out front, parked at an odd angle. I find some footing on a large rock near the door. It takes me 3 slippery tries, but I manage to leap onto the topmost sandbag. I bark and bark with all I've got, but I might as well be voiceless between the wind and the rain and the howling animals begging for escape. I pause to listen. I hear humans shouting and I can make out what sounds like police radio chatter. But I don't hear Boss. I'm right here, right at the source, and I hear nothing. It wasn't her bark I heard. She's dead, and I'm crazy and hearing things and drenched and shivering when where is Julia and where's George? Hey, little guy. The door eases open just a crack. Every bone in my body, every smart part of my doggy brain says run. This is an animal shelter, a flooding one, apparently. My sister isn't here, and I still have to find George and Julia. The door moves. Swoop. The loop comes down around my neck so fast that a moment later I don't know where I am. It's like a cowboy's lasso, the kind in old Western movies I used to watch with Ivan. But this lasso is at the end of a long metal handle, and at the end of the long metal handle is a man. Stay calm, buddy. The man eases me, gently but firmly, off the sandbags and through the door. I'm inside the Bow Wow Big House, the Hound Pound, the Pet Pokey. Oops. The man pulls me along with the lasso. I decide not to argue. We enter a small room stacked with animal-filled metal cages, and I'm assaulted by howls and hisses. The cold water on the floor sloshes as we walk, just skimming my belly. As bad as my smeller is, I instantly pick up on one more distinct odor. It's like the world's worst perfume, the kind old ladies emit. The kind people spray on their dogs to camouflage their lovely dog stink. The kind Snickers wears. I catch a glimpse of her in an upper cage, bedraggled bow and her droopy hair. Snick baby, fancy meeting you here, I say. You look good behind bars. Harebrain, she replies. Hey, calls a rabbit 2 cages down. Watch your language. Mac couldn't deal with you? I asked Snickers. He brought me here because he thought it would be safer. Seems he may have been mistaken, I say. Carefully grabbing my scruff, Cowboy lifts me into an upper cage. He pulls the lasso loose and shuts the barren door. I'm not happy, but it's a relief to be out of my noose. Oh great, another one? Calls a woman wearing tall rubber boots. She pauses in the doorway. I thought we were turning people away. People, yes, said Cowboy, but this pup came solo. Tick-tock, folks, says an older, ruddy-faced officer. He's holding a radio in one hand and a flashlight in the other. You're running out of time. We hear ya, but first we've got to move everybody who's lower level. Boots sigh. Last hurricane we had 2 feet to deal with. I swear they're getting worse. Climate change, says the officer. What are you going to do? More than we're doing, says Boot. That much is for sure. I'll move the dogs from room 2, Cowboy offers. There are only a couple on the bottom level. We're out of cages, though. We'll have to double up. Put that little female in with the new guy, says Boots. They look like twins. I'm shivering, and it's not because I'm cold. I press my hurt nose to the metal bars. I smell something. I do. I hear something. I do. Cowboy returns, dog and arm. The bark. That bark. The door to my cage opens. Hey, I say automatically, even as my heart was already whispering the truth to me. They call me Bob. They call me Boss, says the voice. But by now I know, and of course I know, and I'm howling with joy. Spounder. Thunder claps, shutters fly, windows rattle, water rushes, dogs whimper, cats howl, people yell, and all I can hear is my sister's voice. We lick each other, sniff, yelp, circle, wrestle. Neither of us was ever that touchy-feely sort, but sometimes you just gotta let it all out. Wow, says Cowboy watching us. Do you think they knew each other? Boss isn't anything like I remember. She's scrawny and flea-covered. Her left ear has a big notch in it. Her fur is dull, her body scarred, her tail cut short. I'm afraid to ask how that happened. She's clearly had it tough, really tough. I thought I heard your bark, I say, but then it stopped. I figured I was crazy. I was napping. In this chaos, I ask? I can sleep anywhere. It's a gift. Boss nibbles on a toenail. Funny thing is, I was dreaming about you. Must have caught a whiff of you in my sleep. I can't stop staring. Boss, here, with me. What? She asks as she catches me looking at her. I was just wondering, I say, about your life. Do you have, anybody? You mean like humans? No. She gives a little flick of her stubby tail. Never have, never will. You've been on your own this whole time? I flash on my cushy bed. My lovely food bowl, the way everyone knows just how I like my ears scratched. Yup. How'd you end up here? I was out scrounging for food. Just had another litter and I was tired, off my game. Animal control got me. She licks a nasty cut on her front paw. Wait, so you have puppies? That would make me an uncle. A dog uncle on top of being an honorary elephant uncle. Had the last batch 7, maybe 8 weeks ago. She scratches at a flea. The last batch? I repeat. You mean you've had others? Yep. What happened to them? Don't know. It's not like they come home for the holidays, boss. Boss lied down on an old towel lining her cage. Or should I call you Rowdy? She considers. Nope. I like the sound of Bob. Me too. Anyway, Boss says, mostly they're dead, I guess. You never know, though. Maybe a few got rescued. She's so matter of fact, so resigned. This last litter, well, I thought I was onto something. Found this little car, those ones that look like a big old bug, abandoned right down by the creek near the bridge. Easy access through a hole in the floorboard, blanket in the back seat, all the amenities. How many puppies, I ask. 3, but only 1 survived, a male. The other 2 were pretty sickly and, well, Something crashes into the front office. Sounds like a window is broken. We gotta get out of here. An orange-striped cat howls. He throws himself against the front of his cage, then pokes out his paw, grabbing for the latch. I'm too young to die. When they caught me, Boss continues, ignoring the cat. I barked for the puppy to sit still and wait. Told him I'd be right back. Nice. Last thing he'll ever hear was a lie. What's his name? The puppy. She looks at me like I asked her if she'd ever been to the moon. I don't name them, Bob. It just makes it harder. Below us, the water's slowly rising, filling the empty lower cages. We watch the humans rush back and forth, carrying buckets as if they can stem the tide. There's nothing to do, nothing to say, and nowhere to go. Wow, she's had a bad life. I stare at my sister and try to imagine all the pain she's endured. And here I thought I'd gotten the raw deal. To lose your pups, to wander alone, to struggle for every drop of water, every crumb of food. I mean, I experienced a little of that, but Ivan and Stella kept me going, and then Julia and her family. Why me? What's so special about me? Is it really that I'm more resilient, that I've made my own luck? And somehow, am I just better than Boss? More deserving? It's not right, I blurt. Not right, and you shouldn't have to do it. You've had it worse than me. Well, you want to talk about not right. You and I both had it a whole lot better than our siblings, Boss says. I will never forgive those people for what they did to us, I say through clenched jaws. Really? Boss seems surprised. If I held on to that much anger, I'd never get out of bed. Not that I've ever had a real bed. She sniffs the towel beneath her feet. This towel's kind of nice, though. I look at her in disbelief. You're one of those. Those dogs must forgive no matter what types? She almost looks amused. Well, it is kind of our thing, right? When someone does something hurtful, they have to admit it, I say. Then they have to be punished for it. And maybe then if they apologize and change, maybe, then they can get forgiven. All I know is I've done lots of bad stuff in my life, Bob. I've had to forgive myself plenty just, to get through the day. Boss gazes at me with her wise, weary eyes. And I figure if I'm going to forgive myself, I better be ready to cut everybody else some slack, too. Look, says the officer, you need to evacuate now. It's mandatory. We can't just leave these animals. Cowboy sticks his finger into the orange cat's cage. The cat rubs against it, purring like his life depends on it. Which it maybe kind of does. The officer sighs. You don't have a choice. We can't just leave them, says Boots, and I have to applaud her enthusiasm, even as I wonder why she'd risk her life for us. There's no explaining humans. Just got word the bridge over Big Fork Creek collapsed, the officer says. You guys gotta move out. Boots snaps her fingers. Wait, you have a cop car, right? Yes, I have a vehicle, ma'am, says the officer, but the way the roads are looking, probably not for long. Okay, so we can evacuate. We evacuate every last dog and cat and gerbil that we can get in your car. The officer purses his lips. And take them where exactly? Shelter at the high school. That's where we've been sending people. They're not really set up for it, but once we started flooding and the elementary school stopped taking pets, they agreed to do what they can. The officer grumbles, considers, and then goes for it. The 3 humans load cats and dogs, parakeets and hamsters, one after the other, into the police car. Some are in cages, and some, including a couple of unhappy cats, are on tug-of-war strings. Finally, it's our turn. Looks like there are 9 of us left. Cat's full. Car is full, and then some, the officer reports, struggling to shut the shelter's front door against the rising water. We are officially out of room. Cowboy looks at us, his eyes teary. Don't worry, fellas, we'll be back, he sniffles. I promise. You think we should leave the cages open, at least give them a fighting chance? Asked Boots, in case, Sure, but they couldn't handle this current. I can barely stand up. Cowboy shakes his head. Look, I'll borrow my brother's bass boat. We'll come right back. Hopefully the water won't get much higher than this. Okay, then. Boot gives him a grin nod. Stay calm, friends. Like that's an option. The wind slows for a moment and the room goes silent. We stare at the black pool swallowing the cages below. A chew toy shaped like a pink turtle floats past. It's just us and a whole lot of water. I check out the group. 2 cats, 1 bunny, 6 dogs, including Snickers, Boss, and me. There's nowhere to jump, no tables, no cabinets, no space above the upper cages. And as Cowboy pointed out, the current is probably too strong for us to tackle anyways. Folks, don't give up hope. You heard them, I say. They're coming back for us. No way are they coming back, says the sad-faced beagle mix. Give me a break. You never know, I say. I am such a lousy liar. Oh, yes, we do, my sister mutters, just loud enough for me to hear, and we share a look. Look, chances are the water won't get too much higher, I say. But just to be on the safe side, pile up anything you have in your cage. Bowls, towels, toys. Who died and made you a pack leader? Asks a big mutt with a grating snout. Well, it beats howling like babies, I say, and instantly I remember landing in Stretch's domain. Howling like a baby is exactly what I did. I had a dog biscuit this morning bigger than you, says Grey Muzzle. What about me? Someone squeaks. Does the bunny get a vote? Hold on, Thumper, says the orange cat. This clearly is a job for a higher feline intellect. No, a sharp voice rises above the din. Listen to Bob. He's annoying, and his hygiene leaves a lot to be considered. But I've seen him get himself out of all kinds of scrapes. Thanks for the props, Nix, I say, especially the kind words about my odor. The wind groans and something metallic hits the side of the building. We fall silent again, waiting for more. The windows rattle, the walls shudder. It's like the building is as scared as the rest of us. So, Snickers says, breaking the gloom, you heard Bob. Start stacking. How about my litter box? Asks a small white cat with dark green eyes. Would that work? Sure, I say. Use anything. The goal is to get as high as you can. And then what? Asks again Dachshund. Worst case, we swim for it, I say. That's actually not the worst case, says the bunny. No one asks what is. We already know. Worst case, they die. This moves fast now, the fact that he's found her. Aww. I hope they get out. I'm a little nervous for him. Okay, I'm going to stop there it's nighttime for me. I'm going to stop there for tonight, and I'm going to read more tomorrow, so you can either continue on, because they'll be in the playlist, or you can wait to another day. But we're pretty close to the end. We got this little part to go. So I think we have about just shy of 80 pages. So a couple more readings, maybe 3 more readings or so. We'll see how it goes. All right, bye.